curious, how many of you locked your car when you came into church this morning? Okay, now for those of us in this region, there are reasons why we do that, right? But when you live in the more rural areas, particularly during this time of the year, you learn there's another reason to do that, because if you leave your car unlocked, you may discover when you get back that someone has put some garden surplus produce in your vehicle. This is the time, isn't it, when things are becoming ready to harvest. And if you don't get them in time, you end up with zucchini like this, right? You must really have to like zucchini bread. If you get a zucchini, those are just a lot bigger, aren't they, than those cute little things you get at the grocery store. And I certainly discovered when we came back to the United States and we were serving a small town church that there were times I walked from the little shed where I could park our car and find a basket of garden charity or a bag of garden charity on the back deck, just waiting for me. Some of you may be wondering what we can do with that. Well, one of the churches a couple of them that I've served over the years came up with a really ingenious way of dealing with that, and that is if you've got extra coming out of your garden, to set up a garden surplus place or table someplace in the church building where folks could leave their extra zucchini and tomatoes and corn, and then put a basket out there and invite folks just to make some sort of a free will donation that would then be given to local ministries and missions that feed the hungry. That's something we might do here. We'll have to see if there's some interest in doing that. I just present that for you. Because I was thinking about the abundance of zucchini. I didn't plant zucchini. I've got these cute little, what they call golden egg squashes. But even those are probably producing more than Barbara and I are going to be able to eat. But I was thinking about zucchini when I was reading Jesus' parable about weeds. Because if there's anything that grows more abundantly than zucchini, it might be weeds. Especially if you're trying to grow a garden. Now, according to Jesus' parable, of course, the sower put good seed in the field. But an enemy came and sowed weeds. And later, Jesus explained that the good seed stands for the people of the kingdom, and the weeds stand for people who do evil. And he went on to say, just as people gather weeds and burn them in the fire, so it will be at the end of the present age. The human one will send his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all things that cause people to fall away and all people who sin. He will throw them into a burning furnace. People there will be weeping and grinding their teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in their Father's kingdom. Those who have ears should hear. Every gardener knows the importance of getting rid of the weeds. Because if you don't, those weeds are going to choke out the good things you're trying to grow. God also knows the importance of getting rid of the weeds. Now, a lot of us are very uncomfortable with the whole idea of a God of judgment, but sooner or later we have to deal with the question, what about the weeds? Human evil is a continuing reality in our world. We see it on every continent. Oh, we may recoil from the whole concept of a God of judgment, but what about the weeds? What about the evil within the hearts of men and women? The hatred, the bigotry, the envy, the bitterness, the lust, the anger, the greed, and we could go on, couldn't we? A young woman wrote an essay on evolution, and she wrote, according to this theory, man descended from the apes and has been descending ever since. Now there's a large amount of truth in that little bit of humor, isn't there? In the human appetite for evil, human beings are still descending. What about the weeds? Now, our concern this morning is not about the final judgment that Jesus describes when the wheat and the weeds will be separated. For most of us, that matter has already been settled by faith in Christ. We have been saved. We will leave to God the determination of what happens to the truly depraved. We aren't responsible for what others do with their lives, but we are responsible for our own lives. What about the weeds in our lives? How do we deal with those pesky personality defects, those murky moral breakdowns, those tawdry times of ethical failure that keep us from being all God intends for us to be? You see, God has created us to be like a beautiful garden bearing fruit, whose taste is sweet and pleasing to the taste buds, and bursting forth in blossoms whose beauty is pleasing to the eye. How do we get rid of the weeds in our own hearts and become the beautiful garden Christ intends us to be? Well, the first step is to recognize how weeds grow. They grow without any real effort on our part. I mean, no one goes out and plants weeds. No one cultivates weeds. No one waters weeds. No one sees that weeds get enough sunshine. Weeds require no labor. Weeds require no commitment. There's a little poem that describes how many of you may feel about gardening. It goes something like this: to cultivate a garden takes a lot of labor. I would rather live next door to a gardener and cultivate my neighbor. Weeds require no labor. They just appear. Weeds remind me of that mindless bit of philosophy that is still so popular in our society today. I mean, it's always been around. That philosophy is, if it feels good, do it. Well, that's a certain recipe for failure. If we only did what felt good, we'd be physical, mental, moral, and spiritual wrecks. The things worth having in life require effort. Sometimes sore muscles, if not severe pain. One of the most dangerous heresies of this sort is the idea that love is something that just comes naturally. In this view of life, love is a mushy feeling. It's a sentiment on a Helen Steiner Rice greeting card. Mature people, however, understand love is not simply a feeling. It's a commitment. Real love takes work. It involves the willingness to be there in bad times as well as good times, for better or for worse. And that's especially true of parenting. was once a man who wouldn't let his children attend church. His rationale was he wanted them to wait until they were old enough to decide for themselves. Doesn't that sound reasonable? His pastor came by one day, said he wanted to take the man to his home to see his garden, and when they walked into the garden, it was full of weeds, which was choking out his squash, his beans, his corn, and the man says, that's a pitiful excuse for a garden. The pastor replied, well, I just wanted to wait until the vegetables had a chance to decide for themselves what they wanted to be. Beware of anything in life that requires no commitment on your part. No effort. No inconvenience. If there is something that requires no effort, no inconvenience, you're probably dealing with a weed. That's the really sinister danger behind gambling. The illusion that great riches can be yours with just a little effort and a little bit of luck. It's also part of the psychology of drugs. Why face your problems? You can escape by just taking a pill or snorting something up your nose or smoking. Illicit sex can have the same appeal. A few hours in a motel is different than having to live with someone day in and day out. How do you get rid of the weeds? Well, we begin by recognizing how weeds grow. They grow without effort. They grow without commitment. You get rid of weeds by recognizing what it takes to grow a beautiful garden. You begin with a mental idea of what you hope to achieve. You map it out in your mind's eyes. You visualize the finished product. Got a garden in the backyard there at the parsonage, and I don't just go out and throw seeds out. You know, I plant in sections and in rows, and I suspect that those of you that are gardens do the same thing. I'm never going to get any awards for landscape architecture, but I've got a visual image of my garden before I begin. Map it out in your mind's eye. Visualize the finished product. Do you have that same clear-cut vision about your life? You know, I've noticed there are folks that take better care of their lawns than they do their lives. Successful people, and can I say, faithful people, always have a vision of what they hope to achieve in life. A skinny, scrawny, African-American young man one day heard a coach say, "You can be what you make up your mind to be. God will help you." And later this young man told his coach, "I've decided what I want to be. I want to be the fastest man in the world." The coach said, "Son, that's a great dream. But there's one problem. Dreams have a way of floating high up in the sky and drifting around like clouds. A dream never becomes a reality until you have the courage to build a ladder to your dream." And he explained that dream would take determination, dedication, and discipline. Well, young Jesse Owens listened to the words of that coach. And at the 1936 Olympics in Germany, he established himself as the fastest man in the world. He won 4 gold medals. And he embarrassed Adolf Hitler before the entire world. A beautiful garden begins with a vision, a dream, and an inner picture of what you can accomplish with God's help. And a beautiful garden also requires a plan. I mean, you've heard this. I know you've heard this before because it's true. Those who fail to plan to fail. Now, Jesus talked about the foolishness of those who build towers without sitting down first and figuring out how much it's going to cost. Successful, faithful living does require that we give some thought to the future. We have a vision of the beautiful garden we hope to be. So we sit down and make a plan. What would I have to do to make my dream a reality? And a meaningful plan for our lives then, of course, will include both our now and our future and our forever. There's an old story about a court jester who was given a wand by the nobleman he served, and the nobleman said, "Keep this until you find a greater fool than yourself." And so the jester put that wand away, kept it for many years. One day the nobleman lay dying, calling the jester to his side. He said, "I'm going on a long journey." And the jester said, "Where to?" And the nobleman shrugged his shoulders. "For how long?" asked the jester. Weakly the nobleman replied, "Forever." "Well, what provisions have you made for your journey?" the jester asked. The nobleman answered, "None." "Here," the jester said, "take this," as he handed the nobleman the wand. "For you are a greater fool than I." A beautiful garden requires a vision, a plan, and a commitment to cultivate it, to work it as long as necessary. Some of you may remember Tom Landry, legendary coach of the Dallas Cowboys in the National Football League. He once said, "I have a job to do that is not very complicated, but it is difficult. To get a group of men to do what they don't want to do so they can achieve the one thing they have wanted all their lives." That's a great statement, isn't it? Cultivating a garden requires those daily little tasks that, sometimes are a pain. But you do them because you envision, you see ahead the beauty, the bounty that awaits. And that's what living a disciplined life as a follower of Jesus Christ is all about. We talked about discipline a few weeks ago. Some folks don't understand the nature of discipline. They think of discipline as mindless devotion to a meaningless activity. I read about a Marine sergeant who was trying to enforce Marine discipline on a group of young recruits. And the Marine Corps has a great tradition, but it also tries to stay up on some things at least. And so he thought he'd try the modern psychological idea that you should always tell the younger generation the why in terms of what you are asking them to do. And so he was overheard yelling at this squadron of green recruits. He said, "Take a look at yourself. Shoes not shined properly, haircut's terrible, ties crooked, and whiskers like you haven't shaved in a week. Suppose some country suddenly declared war on us. What would we do?" Well, those of you that have served will probably back me up on this, because I doubt that having shoes well shined and hair trimmed neatly will help you much in a battle. But the discipline the sergeant was trying to instill, the discipline involved in the daily life of a Marine or any other member of the services, will make a difference in the outcome of a battle. Disciplined living is not following a mindless routine. For the man or the woman who has caught a vision of life's boundless possibilities, it is the application of a plan. So isn't it time you got rid of the weeds in your life? Weeds are the enemy of a beautiful garden. Whether that garden is a good marriage, or the sanctity of your body, or your relationship with your children, your progress in your profession, or your relationship with God. Weeds require no effort, but they can choke out the work of a lifetime. A beautiful garden, on the other hand, requires vision, planning, and discipline, but the prize is worth price. So please heed Jesus' warning about the weeds. Keep the weeds out of your life. A man was out spraying his garden. A certain beetle was threatening his crops, and the little girl was upset with her father killing all those helpless little cute bugs. Her daddy patiently explained that their family really depended on that garden, and those bugs would literally cause them to starve. The father said, "You see, I'm not so much opposed to the bugs, it's just that I am for our garden." And that's God's attitude toward weeds. It's not so much that God hates weeds, it's that He loves us so much, He doesn't want anything in our lives that might drag us down and take away our joy. Faithful living requires us to get rid of the weeds and to turn our lives into a beautiful garden that produces a bountiful harvest for Christ's kingdom. Will you pray with me? Oh God, we know that You designed, You created us to be a beautiful garden that blossoms and produces fruit for Your kingdom. But as we know, and You certainly do, it's so easy for weeds to find their way in. Choke off so much, if not all, of the good we and You intended. Give us the grace to be able to identify those weeds that begin to sprout, and to work with the assistance of Your Holy Spirit to pull them out, to cut them out of our lives, so that we might be the fruitful people You call us to be, through Jesus Christ, Your Son. Amen.
Amen.